Okay, so basically for this presentation I will use some slides we were using also for the training of UN peacekeeping personnel on the field. I will start with a presentation of OpenStreetMap just to let you understand what is the general framework in which we are acting. So OpenStreetMap is an initiative to create and provide free geographic data by anyone. So everyone can create, edit and delete geographic data from this map, and also anyone can download this data and actually make also business out of it. The data is provided by the volunteers, and the volunteers are usually called the OpenStreetMap mappers. And basically, we are producing data, so OpenStreetMap is basically a database. Every one of us is mapping and creating data in this common database, which is available for everyone in the world. The point is that as everyone is mapping, OpenStreetMap is more actually a community. So usually we tend to give more importance to the people rather than the data. And the OpenStreetMap community is all the mappers are deciding both the ways in which this database has to be built, and also the ways on how to collaborate to map geospatial features in OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap is similar to Wikipedia. It has the same philosophy, but there are also some differences. So as you understood, OpenStreetMap is like Wikipedia. Everyone can write articles in Wikipedia, and in the same way, in OpenStreetMap you can edit, for example, a road or a waterway or a building or a city and so on. Usually in OpenStreetMap, the gold standard is to do original research. So you have to basically check satellite imagery, which is freely provided by third parties, and rather than Wikipedia, which is based on referring to other existing works. Also, in OpenStreetMap we have a stricter copyright, because actually every time you are using OpenStreetMap data, you have to state that the data has been created by the OpenStreetMap contributors. And also there are no admins nor super users. It's like a sort of anarchical community, but with some gold rules that I will explain a little bit in this presentation. And also there is the need to register. So in Wikipedia it is not mandatory, while in OpenStreetMap to edit features you have basically to register an OpenStreetMap account. So I will go through the history of OpenStreetMap. Basically it was born in 2004 by an idea of a PhD student in London, and it was very funny because this guy was thinking that the government was letting him pay for the raw data in London too much. So he decided to create his own map, and he said, well, actually I can, if everyone living in London would add one street in London, we will have the road network of London freely available to anyone. So this is why it is called OpenStreetMap, because at the beginning was only about roads in London. Then the guys contributing to OpenStreetMap decided to add, actually we can add also buildings, and then we can add point of interest like shops, hospitals and so on. And then the project became like a global map, including many different features. So we are in 2005, we have like 1,000 users registered. In 2007, we have the first State of the Map conference, which is like the global annual conference of OpenStreetMap. So since 2007, every time the OpenStreetMap OpenStreetMap community is gathering somewhere in the world. Like last year was in South Africa, and we met remotely. So everyone was connecting remotely because of the coronavirus. In 2009, as you can see, we have an exponential increase of the users of OpenStreetMap, I mean the contributors. We have 100,000 users. But the most important point, talking about humanitarian mapping, that in the end is what we are doing is we have a milestone in 2010 with the Haiti earthquake. So I don't know if you remember, the Haiti earthquake was like a huge earthquake that destroyed basically the city and everything around. And it was the first time in which our first mass remote mapping campaign was done. So after a few days, after a few hours from the earthquake, the OpenStreetMap community activated and mapped the city. So all the buildings to put geospatial data there and to help the rescuers understand where most damage was done in the city, and to help rescuers and plan the rescuing activities. So I have a video, I hope you see. So this is Haiti, and you can see the earthquake. After very few hours, these are all the contributions that remote volunteers are doing. So they are mapping roads, buildings, and so on. You see at the bottom, you can see the days. So in few days, they mapped all the city with all the roads, and then the rescuers planning the activities after this earthquake. So this was really impressive. Everyone was astonished by this contribution, and then OpenStreetMap became more and more used for this kind of activity. So for humanitarian mapping, helping in natural disasters, in humanitarian catastrophes, and also as we are doing peacekeeping operations. So we have other points. You see in 2013 we have 1 million users, and in 2020 we have more than 6 million users. So this is like becoming more and more, OpenStreetMap is becoming more and more used by anyone in the world. There are also some stats about the user contributions. So there is this particular, I don't know, for someone it's an issue, for others it's like an advantage, because basically we have that 90% of the data is contributed by 10% of the users. This is like a typical power law distributions, and it means that very few users are mapping the most of the map in OpenStreetMap. And this means that many of the people that are approaching OpenStreetMap for the first time, basically they are leaving, so they are not interested in the project, so maybe they do some mapping and then they left, they leave. And others, very few ones, are still going to be contributors of OpenStreetMap, and they are keeping contributing. And this is like bad if you consider that maybe people are leaving and they are not interested in the project, but it's also good because a few people contributing to the map means that there is a good contributions and like how can I say? There is good validation of the data, because the very same people are validating most of the maps. So basically there is a good maintainability. There are some licensing and legal aspects speaking about OpenStreetMap. So OpenStreetMap is open data, and this means that it's licensed under the ODBL, the Open Data Commons Open Database License. And this license belongs to the OpenStreetMap Foundations, which is the organization behind OpenStreetMap. Basically, with this license, you are free to copy, distribute, and transmit and adapt your data, the OpenStreetMap data. But as I was saying, you have to state that the data is...
Sorry, just a second. Hassan, you're accidentally presenting your screen.
So, okay, the OpenStreetMap, you have created OpenStreetMap and its contributors every time you are using OpenStreetMap data, like to produce other maps on your own or applications. So this is very important, and basically this is like the core of the concept of open data. So you have to thank everyone for their contributions if you are using their data. And this is nice. I mean, this is like a completely different approach from Google Maps, for example, because Google Maps, is a database, is also an application, and you cannot access the data. So, I mean, you are not, the data is not freely downloadable. So, in this case, this is also one reason because for the humanitarian mapping to be on OpenStreetMap, because many cities in Africa and Asia, they are not covered by Google Maps. So because there is no business, there is no a big business like in Europe and in USA to map cities in Africa and Asia. So basically, this is why on OpenStreetMap you most of the time can find African cities and also cities in rural parts of Asia mapped quite well. So maybe I can skip other license things that are quite boring. So yes, also if you are trying to bring some data on OpenStreetMap from already existing databases, you have to import on OpenStreetMap with the approval of the OpenStreetMap community. So there are some rules to be followed. So for example, in imports, you have to ask for the approval of the community, so you have to discuss for 2 weeks about the possibility to import external data on map, or maybe if you are proposing a new target, you have to discuss with the community. There are many mailing lists to that to decide if what you are doing is correct. I mean, it's approved by anyone, or maybe it has to be fought another time, and maybe or maybe it is illegal in terms of license or community approval. I will dive into the Unite Maps presentations, which is the project in which I am working. So, what the United Nations decided is to, at least our project is trying to bring a change in the United Nations. So we are trying to use OpenStreetMap data in our activities, and we are doing this with Unite Maps. Unite Maps is a program run by the United Nations Global Service Center, UNTSC, which is the logistic base in Italy. But the program was also started by United Nations Geospatial Information Section in New York, from the headquarters, and 3 peacekeeping missions, which are the UNSOS, the mission in Somalia, MONUSCO in Democratic Republic of the Congo, and MINUSCA in the Central African Republic. And basically, we are producing topographic maps for the UN peacekeeping missions to, as I was saying before, to help them grant peace and security, and also plan the navigation and logistics activities. And the change we are bringing in the United Nations is to use open data. So basically, all these things were already done in the past with MGCP, which was like a military standard for geospatial data, and it was private. I mean, the data was internal in UN. Now we are trying to produce orthographic data for UN, but also to release the data on OpenStreetMap in such a way that everyone can use the data for any purpose. So not only for the missions to grant peace, but also for local communities or for African people to make business out of this data, and maybe there are many businesses that can be done starting from topographic data and in general geospatial data. So basically Unite Maps is providing different services. So we have the state map, which is like a map, a global based map, which is providing contextual information as background for geospatial solutions. Then we have the image map, in which we are providing mosaics of UN managed satellite imagery to missions, and operational maps, which are web services collecting geospatial information related to operational activities carried out by UN field missions. In the future, we are also going to provide 3D globe solutions, so the missions will be able to see our editing on a 3D globe. Also geocoding, as I was saying, so to create, update, and publish address locators, and to use them like also to find out the position of relevant point of interest for operational activities, and then direction features, so routing, so also understand the most vulnerable areas. So basically all these services are based on OpenStreetMap and also UN internal data. So we are editing OpenStreetMap and mixing the data with UN internal data like boundary data or other kind of sensitive information to produce cartographic products. And we have like topographic maps, which is our main cartographic product. We are producing 50K scale maps for the missions and 10K scale maps. Basically the missions are requesting us these areas, and we are going to provide all the information is needed there. And then we have also city maps, which are 10 scale maps with building and point of interest information, and focus maps, which are very detailed maps of UN bases. So basically, we are mapping on OpenStreetMap different features, including highways, so mapping or improving the road network, waterways, tracing rivers, streams, tunnels, ditches, everything that could be used also for agricultural purposes or natural rivers, wetlands. Then we are producing land cover and use polygons. We are also putting on the map villages, including the names whenever we are able to put the names. So maybe sometimes we are coordinating with missions to know the names, or maybe we are reporting external databases of village names on the map. And then, of course, a point of interest in many cities, like aggregation points, this kind of data. So, Unite Maps is producing this data both with an internal facility of mappers. We have like 15 GIS consultants that are actively mapping on OpenStreetMap, but we are also trying to set up this facility of crowdsourcing. So we are engaging with different communities, ranging from UN personnel in the field, GIS groups, offices, military and police, to academia, high schools and universities. We are doing many trainings and also trainings and courses with universities. Then we are engaging with local communities, because OpenStreetMap has different local communities that are actively mapping their areas, the areas in which they are living. So we are engaging with them to some mapping event or do some trainings. We are also working with NGOs and other remote volunteers in the world. So basically, in the activities of the UN Mappers, we include the mapping projects. So I will explain in a little bit what a mapping project is. So we have this website, which is the Tasking Manager, and we are managing the projects from which contributors are able to edit OpenStreetMap data in support of UN peacekeeping missions. But we have also crowdsourced imports, so we are importing UN data into OpenStreetMap, basically topographic data that maybe it was on in internal UN databases, and now we decided to bring it on OpenStreetMap, I mean, to make it available to anyone. Then we are producing a lot of educational material, and we are doing a lot of activities, producing editing guidelines and documentations. And we are also going to produce a Moodle website, so a learning hub called the Unite Maps Learning Hub. In this website, basically everyone will be able to find all the material that she or he needs to get started with OpenStreetMap and to edit also on our projects. Then we are doing a continuous validation of the data, so we can see every contributor mapping in our projects, and we can validate them, training them how to get better, and so on. We have many social media, and also we are going to have a website, and we are engaging and empowering the communities, and also keeping track of the statistics. I will go through that in a little while. So the UN Mappers community is counting up to now 800 contributors. So they produced up to now 2 million and 500,000 edits on OpenStreetMap, and we have also a nice leaderboard on our wiki page. Maybe I can go through that. So you see, we have this leaderboard in which every contributor can see how much he mapped. So you can see the number of edits of the mapper, the number of waterways and diveways, the kilometers of waterways and diveways they mapped, the square kilometers of land cover and use, how they contributed. So this is like a sort of gamification we are doing to engage with our mappers. And also we have the heat map, which is like a map in which you can see where the mappers were contributing. Unluckily, I think I have a bad connection today, so I cannot show it properly, but okay, I will go here on the slides. You see, this is Somalia, and we were doing many mapping projects in the southern part of Somalia, but you see there are also some clouds here and there, and these clouds are the areas in which the external contributors were mapping in the name of UN Mappers. So basically they were saying that their contributions were belonging to UN Mappers. So it is pretty nice to see. We are currently supporting 4 countries, which are the Central African Republic for the MINUSCA mission, MINUSMA, we are supporting MINUSMA in Mali, MONUSCO in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and UNSOS in Somalia, but we are also going to support UNISFA, which is the mission working in Abyei, which is a small, like independent area of the world between South Sudan and Sudan. Each of our projects has a complete set of instructions, as I will show to you now, and we are also importing data from UN databases. So now we are currently undergoing an import of waterways in the southern region of Somalia. We obviously added by advanced mappers. So our educational material is in different languages. Unfortunately, in OpenStreetMap you can find a lot of material in English, but I know there are many African countries that are francophone, and we are also going to produce French material for especially thinking about those people. So we are producing the educational material in English, French, Spanish, and also Italian. And we are also creating YouTube videos showing the procedure on how to map. So hopefully in a short time we will have also much more presentations and educational material to share with you if you are interested. So we are almost in every social media, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Eventbrite. And if you are interested in our activities, you can simply send a mail on un.mappers@un.org. This is our mail, and you can also ask to join on our mailing list to be updated on all our activities. Or maybe if you have like a school or an organization, you can propose collaborations with us if you are interested. So in this slide I put all the links you need. Maybe I will share with you the slides later on. But basically, let me go on. Okay, first, do you have any questions about the OpenStreetMap introduction or the UN Mappers activities?
If you have any questions, please unmute your microphone and you can speak.
Hello, Michael.
No.
Do you also use the humanitarian OpenStreetMap Task Manager in your projects?
Yes, we do, and also I will explain a little bit how to use it in the following part.
I see. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no questions, I will go on with the technical part. Hopefully, this is like difficult to compress all this information in this little time, because I don't know how many of you are familiar with GIS in general and in particular OpenStreetMap data. So I will be very brief on this side. Okay, so let me start. Usually we have two different data types for the traditional GIS and OpenStreetMap, because traditional GIS usually uses proprietary data, so a format called shapefile from SD. While OpenStreetMap is using XML, which is free and open source, is like a sort of text file in which you can specify tags and hierarchical structures. I mean, it seems complicated, but it doesn't really is. In traditional GIS, we are using these thematic layers. So basically, we have a layer with polygons that is the layer of the lake, of the lakes, for example, or maybe the layer of the lines for the rivers, layer of points for the wells, and so on. While in OpenStreetMap we have a complex tagging system which is itself decided by the community, but we don't have this concept of layers. We are basically mapping everything inside the same layer, and every object has its own tag to decide what it is and how it behaves in the map. Traditional GIS, so using this proprietary data format, can be edited only by single users, while OpenStreetMap is designed to be edited by multiple users everywhere in the world and at the same time. So basically, as you can imagine, OpenStreetMap like a big text document in which every user is creating, editing, and deleting pieces of text in this huge document. So this is also, I mean, this is studied to be edited in real time and without many concurrency issues. So we have OpenStreetMap objects. The geometric primitives are also different from GIS because we have nodes, which is a pair of coordinates. They are simply points. Then we have ways, which are collection of nodes. So a way is defined by the IDs by the identifiers of the nodes, and it can be open or closed. If a way is open, it's a line, while if it is closed, it's a polygon. And then we have relations, which is typically a feature that is mapped by advanced mappers, and is a collection of OpenStreetMap objects that is specifying like relationships between those objects. Like for example, we are having a bus line, and we have many points that the bus stops, but the line is connecting the bus stops because it is the route of the bus. So these objects are all connected by this relation of the bus stop, of the bus route. After the geometry, we have attribute data. So let's imagine we are tracing a polygon, and then we have to say what this polygon is because it can be everything. So the tag, we are putting tags, and these tags are a pair of key and value strings. Basically, the key is a topic or a category. So for example, building, and the value is the detail of the key features. So for buildings, we have many tags, which are like, for example, house, apartment, we have hospital, we have other things, or maybe also the building equal to yes, just to say that it is a normal building without any further characteristics. I mean, it can be one house, an hospital, but we don't know, so we put building equal to yes. So basically, we can define geometric features in this way. So adding tags one on top of the other, specifying many different characteristics. So we can say, in this example, we have a pub in New York. So we can say the city, New York, amenity equal to pub is saying that this is a pub. Then we have the building to yes, the height. We can specify the height in meters of the building, the name of the activity, and so on. So this is like all the data we put to say to the database that these features is there, and other third-party applications can use this data to build other services on top of this data. So basically, if you want to create your own Google Maps, you can take this data and make, for example, search. You can search for pubs in New York. You can do a map, an interactive map using this, exploiting the OpenStreetMap data, which is available to anyone. So the tagging system is quite nice because basically it is at the same time it is decided by the community. So every time a new tag has to be put in the database, there is a lot of discussions in order to ensure integrity with all the tags in OpenStreetMap, and the community approval is like the main part of the whole activity. So everyone has to be okay with the decisions that other contributors are doing. So another object in OpenStreetMap is the chain set. So once we are mapping everything, so we finish it to map, and we have to say, like in Wikipedia, what we did. This is like the chain set. So basically, this is an object compiled by the OpenStreetMap editor you are using from time to time. There are many editors out there, but the user is asked only to provide a comment specifying what the user did in this specific mapping session. So let's say, for example, taking the example of before, I was in New York and I was mapping all the pubs in New York. So my comment will be, I mapped all the pubs in New York, and from this comment, you can put like some sort of hashtags, and these hashtags are fundamental for the people to take in statistics. So, for example, if we put the hashtag UN Mappers, this chainset will be counted as a UN Mappers activity. So, basically adding this hashtag UN Mappers, you will be like contributing to our activity. Also, the scope of this chainset is to allow like a Wikipedia rollback. So if somebody is vandalizing OpenStreetMap, like deleting important features, or maybe adding strange roads or over-extracting features from the map, basically you can do rollback. So you can say this chainset is wrong, let's come back to the previous situation. So this is quite useful to defeat vandalism in OpenStreetMap. So I will finish my presentation. Let me share the screen. So basically I can go back to the tasking manager. So I showed how it is possible to explore projects provided by different NGOs, including UN Mappers. So basically we were exploring one project. So we clicked on one of the proposed projects by UN Mappers, in this case the project in Mogadishu. And you can see, if we click on contribute, you can see like this map. This is the area asked for from the peacekeeping mission. There are many tasks. And the idea of the tasking manager is that anyone can take one task and map that area on his own. This is done to coordinate better with other contributors in order not to have two people contributing in the same area. So these tasks have different colors. The white ones are the ones available for mapping, so one the user can keep it and map, while we have the light blue ones that are mapped and they need validation, so another user can go there and validate. We have the yellow ones, which are the ones that are unvalidated. So if something is not complete, if a task is not complete, it can become from a light blue to yellow. The green ones are the validated ones, so the ones that are ready. The users can also decide if there is bad image, satellite imagery in a task, and they can put them as unavailable for different reasons. So for bad satellite imagery, or yes, basically bad satellite imagery for like cloud coverage or humidity present on the ground and so on. And also there are also priority areas, but this is not the case. So how can I contribute on this project? I can simply click on one task. So I will go here. Then I click on map selected task. So in this case, I'm editing with Java OpenStreetMap. It is a specialized software, but also browser editors are there. So there are different ways to contribute to OpenStreetMap. And you can see the tasking manager has downloaded for me the data on OpenStreetMap in that square. And I can see the satellite image here, provided by Maxar in this case. So I can see there are some villages, there is a road going through these farmlands. These are barriers used as nido from nomadic people in Somalia. So basically you can see the data, and we can also complete this data, because you can see some data is not mapped well, like this road is passing through many farms. So what we do is to simply correct the geometry. For example, we can take the different nodes and we can modify the ways. In this case, I'm simply correcting the way geometry. So okay, the work is long. It's only to actually, this is not quite requested by our project. You can trace, for example, land use residential areas. So, okay, it's not quite easy at the beginning because you don't know the tags, but with proper training, it's very easy to map. So basically, we can trace this area, which is a residential area. We trace the polygon connecting a line with itself, and then we apply a tag to say it is a residential area. So we put land use residential. All the tags are present in the Wikipedia wiki auth I showed before. So for every tag accepted by the community, you can simply go there and explore. And you see, I mapped a residential area now. I can say that also this area is an hamlet because we have few households here living in this area. So we can put a point and add a place for hamlet. So in this way I mapped a village here, an hamlet. This is the procedure. I mean, unfortunately, it's not easy to explain how. I mean, every technical thing. There are so many things to be explained here, but this is the idea. So I'm seeing the data. I can find what's wrong, and I can modify things in the map. When I finish it, well, actually this map is not finished, but to show how to submit the commit, you can go on with the upload of the change center. You can put the comment. In this case, there is the hashtag YourMappers saying I'm contributing for the sake of peacekeeping. And also I can write a comment specifying what was happening here. So I'm adding or modifying topographic data. After that, I can upload the changes, and all the data I submitted will be rendered on OpenStreetMap in very few time. So this is basically what we are doing. Maybe I can show also the IT editor. In the meanwhile, you can see the task has been blocked by me. So every other users will see that this task is not available for contributors. And when I finish it with my task, I can simply say what I did here. So I will put nothing mapped because I didn't submit any change set. So I will submit task. And so this is it. So the task implement will update the status of our tasks, and the project dashboard will be modified as the other contributors are mapped on this project. I forgot to say that in our project there are also those instructions. Maybe I was saying it before, but yes, there are some instructions like how to use a Maxar imagery or to adjust the offset of the imagery if there are some offset between the underlying data and the satellite imagery, or maybe to provide a good JSON comment. I mean, all the OpenStreetMap good practices you have to follow. And also roads, like we are putting here the most common tags we are using. So for roads, we have these tags like highway to primary, highway to secondary, residential roads, tracks, paths, and so on. For waterways, we are using these tags like river, stream, or we are also specifying intermittency of waterways, residential areas, and places, so localities, isolated dwellings, hamlets, villages, and so on. I think I covered almost everything. Unfortunately, it is not very clear how to edit, but with few time is impossible to explain how to edit correctly. But yes, this is more or less the feeling that a contributor has in mapping for us. So you can simply join OpenStreetMap if you are not already there, and map using the tasking manager from HOT on our project, and supporting directly with your contributions the you have peacekeeping missions in different African countries. And at the same time providing data not only for the peacekeeping missions, but also for those countries. So if you are a guy in Somalia or anywhere in the world, you can download the data in Mogadishu, for example, and you can use the data in Mogadishu, maybe the road data to create a network map of the roads in Mogadishu and all the other different applications you can imagine. So